Emilia Toledo was born to a fairly uptight family. Her parents were immigrants from Mexico, and they always told her to be on her best behavior. Emilia did not know what this meant since she was only 4 at the time, but from watching her father's careful way he spoke around police officers and how her mother presented herself to others, did Emilia soon get the message: do not look out of place or abnormal. You're merely a guest here. Still, despite having 2 Mexican parents, there wasn't a lot Emilia knew about Mexico. Apart from her mother's cooking and her father's obsession with soccer, there was not much she knew about what being a Mexican was. She didn't have any siblings and did not grow up in a neighborhood that readily accepted minorities. It is with these unfortunate circumstances that she developed a fascination with the country. She kept this goal in the back of her mind as she made her way through life. The opportunity wouldn't come until her 70th birthday, when she was retired but still offered accounting services for some clients willing to pay her price. Emilia had moved upstate and into a tiny home. Apparently, it was supposed to make a smaller footprint on the environment. She also owned 2 small pugs, Pepper and Candy. Emilia, ever since she moved out of her home state, saved up every little penny and dollar she earned. This way, she could afford not only the plane ticket, but to pay her bills and the pet sitter while she was away. Emilia, after saving up, finally decided to purchase a first-class ticket. It wasn't to feel superior or privileged, but because she heard they had better Wi-Fi. She was definitely treating the trip to Mexico as a vacation, but until she got there, she needed a way to continue working on her brand new laptop. Granted, she was still trying to figure out how to use the darn thing. Still, she wanted the best for her clients. She was a rather hard-working woman. Ever since she was 9, her mindset was set for high standards. She strove to be her best self in all matters possible. Using whatever tools she had at her disposal, Emilia studied what she did not understand, be it the English language or animals. But there was one subject that fascinated her more than anything: mathematics. Numbers, division, multiplication, fractions. It was all so complicated, and she enjoyed it. When her teachers noticed her grades improving at the next open house, her parents were praised for raising such a smart child. This small boost of pride caused her parents to turn from authoritative to authoritarian. Instead of allowing their daughter to watch TV while eating dinner, they ordered her to eat as fast as possible so that she may quickly get back to studying. Although Emilia's strict homestyle brought stress going into middle school and high school, she was nonetheless appreciative of her parents. After all, they were doing this for her own well-being. Her proficiency with math allowed her to take serious advanced courses in geometry and calculus. Despite her ability of quick thinking, Emilia strayed from her math classes in 9th grade. Instead, she became entranced with accounting. The concept of evaluating and categorizing numbers gives great insight into a person's life based solely on their business. Emilia got to see success and failure with every ledger, T-account, or pivot table. It's telling a story. When her parents found out, they were more or less supportive. Being an accountant is a fairly respectable job. Computers are the future, they'd say. However, they were also slightly disappointed by the news. Emilia could be an engineer as well, but instead, she chose accounting. Emilia's flight took off around 4 p.m., so she arrived at the airport a little after 12 in the afternoon. Once she got her flight ticket, she went to sit down in the designated area. She received some incredulous stares from those around her, as if they could not believe that this quaint old woman could afford such an expensive flight. Emilia knew they were glancing over at her, but she did not pay attention. She had learned how to deal with these kinds of individuals her whole life, especially in college. Emilia used to hear that to truly enjoy her time in college, she had to split her time between studying and partying. But if she had to be honest, she didn't see what good that would do. In her first year of college, she used her extra scholarship money to get the best textbooks, journals, and tools to get ahead. This way, her parents wouldn't berate her. In the first few months, she had trouble adjusting to the new curriculum and schedule. It was totally different from her public high school. There were no necessarily 8 straight-hour school days. In college, students had to balance internships, clubs, programs, and classes. Emilia worked to the bone to make sure she didn't get left behind. To make it more stressful, her college was a PWI, meaning that more than half of the student population was white. Back then, it was uncommon to see a brown woman attend college. Emilia would get stares from around the campus. But now, in this airport, it only got more aggravating. When they were called to stand in line and board the plane, she felt the stares burning into her back once again. A middle-aged man tapped her shoulder from behind. Amelia turned and asked what was wrong. "This is first class," said the man as he pointed at the plane outside the large window. Amelia responded by showing him her ticket. "I know. I bought the ticket myself." This was her very first flight on an airplane, but she was not stupid. She could read and speak both Spanish and English. However, it would be a lie if she said she did not feel nervous as she walked across a small tunnel and into the plane. It was a lot louder than she expected. Not the people but the engines. It unsettled her. Man was never meant to fly. As Amelia crossed the aisle seats, she was stopped by a fairly young blonde woman. She somehow had 3 children accompanying her despite how expensive the tickets were. Without permission, the woman harshly grabbed Amelia's shoulder and said, "Hello?" "Hey." Amelia was surprised but kept her calm. She shrugged the hand from her shoulder. "Yes, you shouldn't be here." The woman then proceeded to urge Amelia back down the aisle. "Go ask the flight attendant to help you." "Mrs.?" Amelia stepped away from the woman. "My seat is right over there." No, this is first class. Me and my children are supposed to be here. You aren't." Amelia corrected her purely out of annoyance. "It is my children and I, not me and my children." The woman furrowed her eyebrows and jerked her head back. "Excuse me? That was unnecessary. You don't say that to me, Mexican. I've known English all my life." "I'm sorry, but I'm not Mexican." Squinting her eyes, the woman gazed at her skeptically. Amelia continued, "I was born and raised in America." "You're lying. Look at you. You're all brown. Why else would you be on a flight to Mexico?" 2 of the woman's children snickered behind her. The children looked to be about 10, 13, and 16. It hurt Amelia to see what the future leaders would turn out to be, but it wasn't their fault. Amelia could have ended up like that too if she had this woman as her mother. It was all a matter of chance. Amelia chose again to ignore the woman's ignorant statements and said, "I would like to sit down now, if you will." "No, you're not. Stop making a scene and exit the plane." By this point, this entitled woman had caught the attention of the flight attendant. She approached them and asked if there was a problem. Amelia firmly stated that the woman was blocking her from getting to her seat. The woman insisted that she was in the right. Eventually, the flight attendant went to get the captain from the flight deck. This kind of behavior wasn't uncommon. It usually occurred in supermarkets or at work, especially around individuals who have never been exposed to other cultures. However, there were a few notable gems, like her ex-husband Matt. After earning her bachelor's in accounting and a minor in business management, Amelia was quickly able to find a high-paying job. For the next decade, she would jump between a few jobs until she settled on a large banking company. There, she would meet her future husband Matt Evans. He was one of several lawyers hired to help expand the company nationwide. Amelia and Matt resided in different parts of the building, but they would occasionally see each other, be it in the parking lot, lobby, or the various staff rooms. Matt was the first to initiate a conversation as they waited outside the owner's office. Amelia's parents were, to say the least, satisfied with her choice of a partner. "A lawyer, you say? How lucky," her mother would exclaim proudly. Until now, her family would tread water as they lived in the country, but now that Amelia was an accountant and she was due to marry a lawyer, they were looking forward to good times ahead. That wasn't necessarily the case, however. Amelia and the woman stood there in awkward silence. 2 of the children chose to gaze outside through their window, while the youngest looked at Amelia's clothes. The 10-year-old stared for a little while. Eventually, he said, "I like your bracelets." This compliment warmed Amelia's heart. "Thank you. They're called Ojo bracelets, supposed to protect you from harm." The child smiled and asked if he could have one. Amelia glanced over at the woman, but she didn't seem bothered by it. She was probably going to sell it as soon as they got off the plane. Nevertheless, Amelia offered him one. She gave him a bright red bracelet and tied it as much as she could around his small wrist, just enough so it wouldn't slip off. It was a surprise seeing the captain appear from the flight deck. Apart from Amelia, he was one of the only people with darkest skin. Not only that, but his complexion looked familiar. She couldn't quite place her finger on why. He had a square face resembling hers, but also eyes that didn't. The familiarity that came from the man instantly brought Amelia comfort. As the flight attendant had done before, the captain also asked if there was any problem. The woman reeked